with your favorite after church podcast. Send us to two people, let them know that your favorite after church podcast is live. Now, I should have, if I would have thought about it, going to segue into this about Chicago with Desiree's question.
Mm.
So I saw that this just popped up on my feed, and I want to know what you think about this because you're more in tune with CPS.
Mm-hmm.
It says CPS Public Schools reaches historic tentative bargaining agreement with its principals. So Chicago Public Schools is granting principals, nope, granting principals pay increases and more protections against harassment in their first ever tentative collective bargaining agreement, according to the union representing the district's school leaders. The historic contract with the district and union tentatively reached Friday needs to be approved by the union's members and the school board. It includes a retroactive 4% cost of living increase for the 24-25 school year and more due process protections for principals who face discipline, said Kaya Banks, the president of Chicago Principal and Administrators Association.
Mm.
So far, what are your thoughts on that?
So real quick, what I was about to look up, I was about to see exactly how many
Federal and state, be humble.
teachers were let off last year, or coming school year. They had
Oh yeah, because we did just talk about that.
yeah,
Last week?
yeah. So if you can Google real quick the average pay of a teacher in Chicago.
Okay. Let's see. Average teacher pay, teacher salary in Chicago. The average salary for a teacher in Chicago is approximately $71,000 per year, according to Indeed.com.
Right. So of that, right. So the average pay 71,000 and 432 teachers were laid off this year. So to me, it's not like these teachers are really getting any, or the principals are really getting any help, or it's not like the budget. You look at the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was having this conversation with Stogie, and I used the number 600.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, how do you get to a point where you lay off 600 teachers at an average of 71? I said $60,000 a year, so I'm under. But at average of, how do you realize at that point that you're that much over budget? Like you didn't realize when you had 50 teachers at $71,000 a year that you were over budget.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see stuff like that, to me, it's kind of pitting the principals against maybe the teachers.
Well, it did say harassment. Well,
It's harassment from whom?
and that was my question.
Yeah,
I would imagine from the parents.
like
We do. Davey said there's a metal detectors tax. Is that a real thing for real?
really, I didn't even know.
Let's see. Nelson Beauty said, mind you, some teachers had to come out of pocket to supply their students school supplies and other materials.
Yeah, that's true. Hit the article that you had brought up before. Oh, well, whatever the article is.
Yeah, hold on a second. All right. Let me share it to the people. 1 second.
So I'm assuming because this is the teachers union.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming like harassment from like city of Chicago.
Yeah, I mean,
not parents, but harassment from the city of Chicago. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. I would wonder about what. That's a good question. I want to look into that.
Mm.
But it says it also includes the cost of living and baseline pay increases for the coming school year, but the union is waiting to share information about them with its members before publicizing the amounts.
But of course, you have money for that now, given that you just let go about 450 teachers. Plus, I think in total was like 1,100 jobs with other like non-teachers and stuff like that. So of course you have money for this, right? What's 435? He was just calculating. Let me my handy dandy notebook. Let me see.
David, you was about to have me Googling this.
That's 30 million, basically almost 31 million with just the teachers that you guys then freed up.
So they said they're getting rid of the fluff, huh? Or maybe not even fluff in the school regard, because the teacher to student ratio is
it's gonna go
astronomical.
Up. Right.
It's already astronomical, and you laid off a good portion of your teachers. So now there's going to be more students to teachers.
But again, at say for instance, at 40 million, right? I mean, excuse me, at 40 teachers, if you would have found out this at 40 teachers or 50 teachers before you got to we're at 450 teachers. We could have stopped this being over at 3 million versus now we're over damn near $31 million of debt. You know what I mean? Given to the teachers. I mean, you could have stopped there earlier.
So this is another thing that it's kind of it's attached to this. Could technically be 3 separate segments, but here we go. Brandon Johnson, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson announces plans to expand $10 million sustainable community school program. I was reading this and I don't understand exactly what that is, but it says more sustainable community schools will be making their way to Chicago. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson has a direct allegiance to the public school district. At a news conference August 4th, he shared that he became the first mayor to send 3 children to study at Chicago public schools, according to Forbes. Is that supposed to be a significant thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure what this is about.
Yeah, I don't. And I saw this. I'm like, and I have a point in bringing this up.
Sustainable community schools. If anybody in the chat knows what that is specifically, maybe it says it, or does it say it in there?
So let's see. This right here is
Oh, well, he's talking right here about it.
Yeah,
right? In Forbes.
Let's see.
Back then, we said the only way we're going to truly transform our public school system in Chicago is by serving the entire child. We are never going to make any real progress until we reckon with the fact that the struggles of our students primarily result in the fact that 72% of students are from low-income families. The overwhelming majority of our students are Black and brown, and they come from poor and working-class communities. Until we start to bring the community into our schools, in fact, until our schools become community hubs in every single neighborhood, we will not see real transformation. But that's what we are so excited about today, this morning's announcement. This morning, I'm happy and proud to begin to speak to the future of not just Chicago public schools, but to America. Sustainable community schools is truly the future of public education, not just in Chicago, but across America. Sustainable community schools provides wraparound services, resources, partnerships into our schools so that students and families have access to what they need every single day to thrive. And today I'm proud to announce that 16 more schools, almost double the current number of sustainable community schools, will begin to transform community schools in this coming year. This expansion will bring the number of SCS designated schools to 36. That means more mental health support, more mentorship programs, more community-oriented events, more access to resources for jobs, housing, continuing education, more of all of these things that we know actually work. And here's the beauty of sustainable community schools. This motto is.
So to me, it sounds like he's asking for more money from taxpayers.
Facts, Snaps, and Beauty.
Frohawk.
Yeah.
But he's asking for more money from the taxpayers. And to me, just throwing money at programs and stuff like that, this is where people become, you start stealing. Right? It becomes a cover-up. And people start stealing when you have all these programs and it says it's to help people, right? But, we're going to put we're gonna give 10% or whatever's given to us. We're gonna get 10% to that program, and then we're gonna divvy up the rest of this shit. You know, I'm just not a fan of stuff like. But I mean, we have to. I guess we have to see how it turns out.
J Ben, my guy, what's good? J Ben is a back chaser.
What's up,
What's
J-Ben?
up, my guy? Better be at the next meetup, man. I'm holding all the regulars accountable. But Be Humble said all policies and program cost money. That's
Yeah.
not the issue. That's not what he was saying, right?
No. I'm saying what happens is that they start stealing the money. So we, the government, right, or the government will issue check, and then you turn around and then the money's squandered, and then we're talking about how we 10, 15 years from now, we're still talking about how the kids is in a bad situation, and the families and low income and so on and so forth. Like, we got to kind of get up out of that.
What do you think of this comment? Be Humble said, not sure I agree, but you have to help the less fortunate.
Oh, I think it's your duty to help the less fortunate. But I also don't think I also don't think that, well, it's always thrown in your face to help the less fortunate, right? And you don't know where the money goes. You always have to follow the money, right? Because they'll pull on your heartstrings to say help the less fortunate, but then be doing other stuff with the money.
He said Chicago has to fix that 17% below poverty line.
Well, that's actually fixing itself, right? A lot of poor blacks are moving out. They'll move down to Atlanta, for their job at Wendy's. But then it doesn't also help that you move in Venezuelans, right? So if we're trying to fix some things, you don't move in new people in poverty. If you already have poverty here, you don't move more, you don't add to the poverty level.
Yeah, and I was hoping that he would, explain in that video. Granted, we still didn't watch a whole lot of it, but I looked up the definition of it just now. Let's see. Right here. Let's see. I typed in what our sustainability schools said. Sustainable schools, also known as green schools, are educational institutions that prioritize environmental responsibility, ecological literacy, and sustainability in their operations and curriculum. They aim to minimize their environmental footprint, promote health and well-being, and instill values in students.
Who getting paid? That's what I want to know, man. Who's getting paid?
Let's see. Healthy and safe learning, sustainability, whole school approach, resource efficiency. See, this is resource efficiency, right?
Promoting healthy food options. To me, where is the vocational schools? Bring that shit back. I've always said that ever since they took away vocational learning trade stuff you actually need to use out here in the real world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because everybody's not going to be a scientist or some type of mathematician or a motherfucking astronaut, right? But you may a lot of people, a lot of men, women too, right? They're good with their hands. And what I've seen out here is a lot of the immigrants, right? Migrants that's coming over. People have skills with their hands. There's money in that. Blue collar work and working with your hands and being a skilled laborer. There's money in that. And I think it's kind of frowned upon in the black community because, of course, we do want to push the pen. We do want to be, white collar and corporate and stuff like that. But I think we need a good mix of that, where we don't always have to run to the Home Depot to get the Mexicans, to work on the, I'm just being honest, right? To get the Mexicans to work on the roof, right? We have roofers within our own community. We have people, that know how, we have all these things. This is what makes to me, this is what makes a community sustainable, right? It brings money it brings money, bro. Like, that brings money. Then you can pump that same bread back into the community and tax dollars and stuff like that. But once they took away the vocational schools, trades, auto mechanics and stuff like. Everybody want to be TikTok influencers.
J. Ben echoed my exact sentiment in response to what Be Humble said. So Be Humble said, not sure if I agree, but you have to help the less fortunate. J. Ben said, have to is crazy. Can't help folks that don't want to help themselves. And that's my exact sentiment. Have to? You have to help the less fortunate? I don't think so.
Well, it's not saying that everybody's who's less fortunate isn't attempting to help themselves. Right? I mean, this is your favorite after church podcast, no? What does the Bible say about helping those in need? If this is the favorite, if we're going to keep touting that, what does the Bible say about helping those in need? Right? It does say you have to help those in need. You have to.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's always going to be poor. There's always going to be poor among us. So why not help? But I'm also not finna just freely just give out stuff. We do need to know where the money's going, so we're not taking advantage of. And that's my thing, where we need to know, okay, I don't mind helping, but where's the money going?
I agree. And that's my exact sentiment. Like I wouldn't argue with the Bible and yes, and to that regard, right? To that regard, yes, absolutely help people. I'm on the side with
yes, God helps those that helps themselves. Absolutely. Yeah, he also helps those that need help. Some people just need help. You don't know what miracle or what, what you can spark into a person's life. Right? I'm not out here talking about just giving out free charity, whatever. But, because, you have to put in some work. But again, it's just like, you can't just be sitting on the poor either. The people do need help. There's people that are poorer that do take advantage of the system. But shit, you got rich people taking advantage of the system. We just focus on the poor people that take advantage of the system.
J. Ben said, Black community revolves around these thoughts. The house don't want men that come home from dirty from work. They love a man in uniform until uniforms are dirty at day's end. He said, I don't help professionally bummy mofos. Be Humble said, not all poor people want to be poor. Nasty Beauty said, too much help could lead to being spoiled. Look at the Section 8 situation now. We still haven't talked about that yet. I want to get you guys' opinion probably next week.
We got time, man. Maul ain't here. We check this shit out.
Well, I want to hear Maul's opinion about it too, though.
Okay. About what though? What
the how Trump is handling government subsidized living.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he almost said, I thought y'all was done. What you want the link, Be Humble? He said, bring us up. So this is the last, you mentioned it. Let's see. So we talked about how he's trying to introduce, Brandon Johnson's trying to bring in these new schools. And then we talked about how the laying off of the teachers, if you lay somebody off, that means we can't afford to have you here, essentially, right? Or the company's going in a different direction and your position, we don't need your position anymore. But typically laying off is due to too much outgo, not enough income of funds, right? How is he bringing up a new system and dedicating $10 million to whatever when I was talking to OG about this, and how is it that he's dedicating $10 million to this when he's spending, what does it say? Information from March 24 states that Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson administration had spent $215 million on the migrant crisis since he took office in May 2023.
So he had the bread to keep the teachers. And this is what I'm talking about when you just hand out money, right? Because when they were housing the migrants, they were getting some like landlords and stuff. They were getting something like $3,500 a month to house some of these migrants in some of the worst areas that people wouldn't dare pay $3,500 a month. Over east somewhere, uh, South Shore. I'm not paying $3,500 a month to live over here, but they were getting $3,500 a month. So this is what I'm saying. You also just freely handing out money, and this is why I believe a lot of times you get people that kind of frown upon helping the poor, because the people who are in charge of the money are, basically disingenuous about their actions.
That's facts, and I'm 1,000% agree. We just talked about how he's dedicating $10 million to CPS schools, and you spent $215 million on illegal immigrants. And OG was saying, well, they didn't ask to be here and all that. Okay, well, all right, and I asked him, and I asked anybody this question who wants to stand on the side of, and this kind of going in a different direction, but if I showed up randomly in your house, are you going to be welcoming in open arms? You're going to be looking like, what the heck you doing here? You're gonna think that I broke in your house and now this is an untrustworthy situation, and you're gonna do whatever you need to get me out of your house. Or even if not even somebody that's me that you're familiar with, a random person. You come in the house and there's a random person in your house. You're gonna get him out of the house. At least try. And I'm saying, like, and I was saying it to the effect that if you can spend $215 million to house them while they're here, you can spend some bread to send them back or send them somewhere else. You got a lot more bread available to you to dedicate more than $10 million to CPS. Stop playing with me and lay off the teachers. So now we're going to have 40 kids to one teacher instead of 30. Stop it, man.
Be Humble said, what about us that grew up poor but made it out? And I'm doing better. I mean, he has a valid point. There's a lot of people that I know that, they did grow up poor, or, they parent needed assistance on certain programs and they made it out, right? They're doing well. I mean, trust me, like, as a kid, I don't think it's a flex as a kid, knowing that you got to go down there, with I'm not sure if you guys familiar with the food stamp book or stuff. It's not a flex as a kid, right? I think as a kid, you want your parents to be successful. You want your parents, you want the best things too, right? So, I think if you can help, I'm not saying take on this whole thing yourself, but if you can help, then why not?
Let's see.
And maybe have is the wrong word, right? Maybe, because we don't want to be just stuck on words as far as that. If you can, right? If you can help. Because sometimes people get stuck on something like that, the have part, and but there's opportunity to help.
So Jay Ben said, for the people that will be watching the playback or listening to the playback, he said, we knew what it took to break the cycle. He said, to be humble. So if I don't see folks trying to align with such trajectory, why do I have to help? I'm equally trying to not go back. And then Be Humble said, to Jay Ben, I don't know if I knew, but I think having certain people in my around me, I guess he meant to say, I think having certain people in my help lay a pathway for me. Don't talk to me. I hope it wasn't Barack Obama. Be humble. But no, man, I think the overall point of me bringing all of that up was because when I first saw the first article that we looked at, I was like, oh, okay, because naturally I want to see, Chicago public schools do better. I want to see them. I want to see kids in schools. I want to see the graduation go up. I want to see the test scores go up. So when I see he talking about giving $10 million to CPS and these sustainability schools, which I still don't 100% understand, I'm still in the dark about what that actually is. Then I think back to you dedicating $215 million, as it says right here. Spent $215 million on the migrant crisis since he took office in May 2023. And then it also says other sources provide a higher overall spending figure for the Chicago migrant crisis. A city dashboard reportedly showed over $638 million spent between 22 and 24.
Yeah. So basically, what to me is what is saying is forget the poor that you have here. Forget the people that you have. Bring the new poor and help the new poor. And to me, that doesn't make sense because unfortunately, right, and it's right now, that's not our problem. You know what I'm saying? That's not our problem. We need to be dedicating the funds and resources to the poor that we have here already.
And that's my ultimate thought process about this. If we were thriving in Chicago public schools, test scores were up, we were taking, as Be Humble pointed out, the 17% and lowering that number, the incomes and the houses, and the less people. Well, I ain't gonna say that, but if people were doing better overall, then I wouldn't have issues with more illegal immigrants, or let me say legal immigrants, coming to Chicago, and some funds being dedicated to helping them get on their feet. I would have less of an issue with that. But on the same, just naps and beauty. Echoing all of my sentiments. There are plenty of homeless vets in the Chi. Facts. But we trying to justify illegal immigrants being here? Oh man, you got anything else for that, Jay, every day?
No.
Be humble. Woo. Personal contrarian, bro. Let's see here. There was something else. Oh, yes.